welcome to No Story Stagnates with me, Ernie Boxall, and it's my pleasure to introduce from America, Kassidy Beckstein, health advisor and health insurance. Now, we all know how important health insurance is, particularly in America, but what's the story behind the health advisor and health insurer? Kassidy, will you tell everyone who you are, where you are, and what you do at the moment, please?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm Kassidy. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, the Sin City, the party town, the place where I stay inside and work all day. It's very fun. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. And like you said, I am a health advisor. So I help people walk through all of their health insurance options, figure out what's the best for them at the moment, with like accident coverage, and make sure they're all taken care of.
Yeah. I read on your LinkedIn, Kassidy, that you attributed the story to something like a father telling a daughter how to tie a shoelace.
Yeah,
It's
I love that.
and bundles. Yeah. And you you break it down into simple steps. That's correct, is it?
Absolutely. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I am here to help. I'm here to make it easy because health insurance, I believe, should be easy for everybody.
Right. Brilliant. And I do know through networking that you are quite good at it. And so, if we will start, Kassidy, and this I know through speaking to you before, could be one hell of a ride. And
Okay.
so, can you tell us if you know how your mother and father met?
They met in high school. I don't know exactly how they met, but I know they went to prom together. I have photographic evidence somewhere.
Yeah. Can you remember what your mom wore?
She wore a bright pink Barbie dress. It looked like it should be on a cake.
Did she have the flower in there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a cat visitor.
Beautiful.
She's famous.
That's it. We'll have him on there. And can you tell us, Kassidy, a story between the ages 1 to 10, which has made a real impression on your life and perhaps a lesson that you knew from it?
Ooh, do you want a good story or a bad story?
I want the story that you feel is the best one for you to tell.
Okay, give me a minute. Okay, no, I got it. So when I was around 4,
yes,
my dad had started he was a chimney sweep. He currently is a chimney sweep. Shout out to Kyle Beckstein, the chimney guy at RSB Contracting. He lives in Buffalo, New York. But yeah, my dad's awesome. And so what he used to do is he'd come over and tie like ropes in between all the trees in my yard and hang drop cloths over them. So we'd have all these tunnels to run through because they'd make a little tent.
Yeah.
And so we had that, and we had this really plastic pink Barbie tent that was plastic cover over PVC pipes.
Right.
And it just smelled like plastic, just all the time. And we'd go around in the tunnels and go in the Barbie tent, and it was great.
Yeah. And so, was there a lesson that did that have anything to do with the smile you get on your face, or?
Yeah, it's a really good memory with my dad. So my parents have been split up virtually my whole life.
Right.
So my dad coming over and doing that was him visiting when we didn't live with him anymore.
Right.
So it was him coming over and like showing us that he loved us and cared.
Yes.
And yeah, it was great.
Psychologically, the split, can you describe it?
What do you mean?
The split up, the day they broke, or the time they broke up?
Oh no, I was 2.
Oh, it hasn't. So it hasn't left a memory.
Nope. I'm okay.
Great. So we'll move on then, Kassidy. 11 to 15, a story of your early teenage years.
Ooh. So honestly, age 11 is when things went downhill.
Right.
Yeah. I got baptized into my religion at age 10. So my mom and stepfather, and actually my dad and stepmom at the time, were all Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And so I got baptized into the religion at age 10. At age 11, I started questioning everything. I started getting in trouble for questioning everything. And my it was just a fun trip.
I know we've spoken before, we've talked before, and you were involved in that. Is it a religion, that faith,
Mm-hmm.
from a very early age, weren't you?
Oh yeah. So my grandparents were actually in it, and my grandfather still is, as far as I'm aware. And basically I used to go and knock on doors with people, with my mom and with other people from the congregation,
Yeah.
for 90 hours a month
Right.
before I went into kindergarten. And that's what I did instead of daycare. Like, it's not an exaggeration. We had to count, and you have to fill out a little time slip saying how many hours you knocked on doors.
Right. And again, has that left an impression? Has that left a mark?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, I mean, I grew up knocking on strangers' doors and talking to people, so
Right.
it helps me with the health insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, gosh, it's a lot easier to talk to people about health insurance
Yeah.
than it is to talk to them about religion, no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm always going to get nicer people talking about health insurance.
Right.
So it's a good time. And also, it really prepared me for public speaking.
Yes.
I know public speaking is like the number one fear
Yeah.
among people. It's like that and then dying.
Yes.
Yeah, and I have a lot less issues with that than most people I know, so that's cool.
Absolutely.
But also, my life was consumed by it
Yes.
completely,
Yeah.
and it was all I did.
And school, at what age did you start school at? 6, 7, 8?
Oh, 5.
5.
Yeah.
So the first, say, between 5 and 10, those years at school, issues with the teachers, or were you good at school?
Oh, I was amazing at school.
Yeah.
I was so good at school because I already knew how to read, and I
Yes.
already knew how to do basic math because
Uh-huh.
I am kid number 5. So all my older siblings were already in school,
Right.
and they would come home and do homework, and
Yes.
I'd stare at them. So I always loved school.
Uh-huh.
I really did.
Did you find yourself, even at that age, were you an individual, or did you join in team sports?
I was not allowed to join in any sports or
Right.
team activities at all.
Okay.
Or learn how to play an instrument, or be in the school play, or anything that required me to spend extra time with kids from school.
Okay. Okay. So again, we talk about 11 to 15. You gave a wry smile when it came to that age. It seemed as if you were going to talk about a little bit of rebellion. Is that correct or not?
No, not really. Just because it wasn't really rebelling. I mean, I know I definitely had an attitude issue as a teenager, but God, I was just sad and scared.
Okay. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that a little more?
Yeah, so something that Jehovah's Witnesses believe is that the end is really close.
Yes.
So I remember in 8th grade, so I would have been 12 or 13 at that
Right.
time, taking a job quiz that we all had to take. We just had to label everything by smiley faces of whether you liked cooking or you liked reading or whatever. my thing said I was going to be a jewelry maker or an artisan of some kind.
Yes.
Which I'm not.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I remember taking that quiz and laughing because I genuinely did not believe that that the world was going
Yes.
to exist at that point.
Right.
And I know many, many people that just are in this constant state of it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
See, that was the question that came into my head, Kassidy, that if people of, let's say, 15, 16, 17 go onto YouTube when we finish and listen to this, is it possible that they will have the same feelings?
Oh, absolutely.
If they were still within that Jehovah's Witness group.
Yeah, and for anyone that is a Jehovah's Witness, gosh, for what it matters, I'm not disfellowshipped. I'm inactive, so you're allowed to talk to me.
Right.
According to the rules, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, I really thought the world was going to be over, and when it didn't end, I just didn't know what to do, because
Right.
now I have to, like, oh my god, people ask me about planning for retirement and I'm like, I didn't plan to be 25.
No.
Like, I don't know what you want from me.
Right. So 16 to 20, did that change?
So I moved in with my dad when I was 15.
Right.
So then I was I had to switch high schools.
Yes.
I met my best friend, shout out to Taylor, she's great. I 16 to 20, I mean, so much happened. So when I moved in with my dad when I was 15, lived there, was visiting my mom every week or so. My senior year of high school, she moved to Florida. I have seen her for a total of 2 days since.
Right. Okay.
And that was like 8 years ago.
Yeah. You moved with your dad, so you went back up to New York to.
Well, they were all in New York.
Oh, right.
The whole,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was New York like in those days? I mean, I've heard over here, we've heard so much about it now. What would you say New York was like when you were 15?
I have no idea. All I did was the witnesses.
Of course, yeah. That's something that is so strange
wasn't allowed to do politics. I was specifically not supposed to pay attention to politics. We didn't have television or internet, so my stepdad just listened to the news on the radio. Yeah, I wasn't really like I can tell you my schedule.
Right. Yeah.
Because I had an extensive schedule because every single day had something else, a group study, an event, a meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you as bubbly then in school? Were you an outgoing bubbly person?
Yes.
So when a boy came up and said, Kassidy, can we meet tonight? Can we meet next week? Can we? The answer was no.
Nobody ever tried. They all knew I would say no.
Right.
I was not the only witness in my school. Yeah, there was 2 others in my grade, 3 in the year above me, 4 in the year above them.
Right.
One of the teachers was my aunt. Okay. One of the secretaries was my friend's mom.
It was pretty difficult for you to get out of that straitjacket anyway, because there were people there. What would they have said?
They would have told my mom.
Yes. And
I would have been grounded.
Right.
And I was perpetually grounded from the age of 10 to 15.
Because of?
Oh God, anything. Because I rolled my eyes when I was asked to do the dishes. I would get grounded for a week.
Yes.
But I ended up grounded about 40 out of 52 weeks of the year by my dad's estimation, not mine.
Right. Yes. Yeah. 16 to 20 then, surely other things came into your life. I did read that, was it English literature and philosophy
Yes,
you
that
took?
is what I got my bachelor's in.
And when did you start doing that?
So when I graduated high school, I had stopped going to Jehovah's Witness meetings about 6 months before.
Yes.
Then I graduated high school, and then a month later, I broke up with my boyfriend, and I started going back to the Jehovah's Witness meetings by myself. So I did that all through my first semester of college.
Yes.
Because I just went to community college because I didn't know what to do because I had never planned to live that long. And so I got into high school, and my parents suddenly decided they didn't really want to be Jehovah's Witnesses as much anymore.
Right.
So I was going by myself for those 8-9 months, and it was interesting because the only thing you can really do is like study with somebody.
Yes.
And what they had me do is they had me study with someone, and it was literally just repetition of a book that I read immediately when it came out and had studied with other people. Like I had taught other people this information, and now they're expecting me to just go through and recite it. What is the point?
Yes.
So I went back by myself and then stopped going because I just didn't think it was true anymore.
No.
I just didn't I was sitting there and I realized I didn't believe that the person that was speaking from the stage was a representative of God.
Right. Exactly. I say exactly. I've got to keep my own views out of it. Was your boyfriend also a Jehovah's Witness at that time?
At that time, yeah. So I had started dating a witness at that time. And then I broke up with him because I wasn't going to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. So I was like, it's like being with somebody that wants to live in a different country.
Yes. Yes.
If your entire life goal is to move to France, and I do not want to ever move to France, don't get married.
No.
Yeah, no. So I broke up with him.
And how did the community accept that?
Well, it's complicated. He didn't go to my congregation. He went to one that was farther away.
Right.
They still called me a year later to ask me if I had any contact with him. But I went and confessed about some things that had happened, and I was reproved privately, so they didn't announce it to everybody, but I wasn't allowed to raise my hand and answer at the meetings, and I wasn't allowed to go and knock on. I wasn't considered like a good representative of the religion at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know that often when I do this, people go into stories up until 40, 50, 60 years old. We're not going to do that, are we? We're only going up to 25. So
26.
26. So stories between 20 and 26, Kassidy. Let's have a couple.
Okay. Let me see. 20 and 26. Most of college, all of graduate school, the entire last year and a half, which was absolutely insane because of COVID and all of it. I just grad school is the dream. My master's in philosophy involved many tears, but also the most fun.
How do you mean?
Oh, because literally I cried over papers.
Can you expand on that? Because I have a sort of interest in philosophy through having read Ayn Rand and looking at that and seeing some similarities to what's happening nowadays.
I read Anthem as like a 9-year-old.
Yes.
If that explains anything about me.
Anthem was that I was given Anthem to read in 1968 while I waited for, I was in America with a girl I'd fallen in love with by airmail as a pen friend. And we went into St. Paul and she was going into work. She gave me Anthem to read. I read it it's not very big, but Anthem, I give Anthem the credit for everything I think now.
I read it in the car on the way to a Jehovah's Witness convention.
That must have been profound. Really.
Not really, because like when you're brainwashed, nothing's really profound.
Okay, it was profound.
I was really mad I couldn't figure out the word. I'm not saying what it is because secret for anyone who hasn't read Anthem, you should. It's not that long. I believe in you. You can get through it.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And then I went straight on from Anthem to Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. So that it was all from Anthem. And when you got from grad school, how did you get from grad school into insurance, health insurance?
So honestly, I was recruited. I was looking for a job out in Las Vegas. My best friend lived out here, and I wanted to do something that was going to help people.
Yes.
Because that's really my goal. That's my end all be all, is to help people.
Yes.
And so I want to go back to school and get my PhD and become a philosophy professor and write about social epistemology and moral psychology, which makes it sound fancy, but it's just talking about my childhood and philosophy.
Absolutely.
But I really want to help people as much as I can. And so like the fact that I'm able to use this business to support myself, and it is something that I know everyone needs, God, especially with COVID, that everybody needs. It's great to be able to do that.
Yeah. Now I know that I would think you have to be quite detailed, don't you, to do well in health insurance? Yeah.
Probably. Never thought about it, but probably.
Yeah. And I know that you said you were good at maths and things like that. So that seems to be an analytical mind that you have.
Philosophy is more analytical because I do analytic philosophy and logic. So so all of my arguments need to be logically valid. You need to be able to turn them into symbols and have them valid in virtue of the way that the argument is written, not just, because I believe that these things are true.
Yeah. And does that mean, I think you've got a creative side to you as well, almost like an actress, someone who's performed before people, which obviously you have. You have, because every time you knocked on a door, you were a performer, weren't you?
And I've been on stage for many an assembly and a convention.
Right. Singing or dancing or?
No. Giving my experiences as the wise 10-year-old who just got baptized.
Yeah. And do you see yourself having that creative side?
I do. I like crafting a lot. I like baking and cooking and doing diamond paintings.
Yes, this is something I wanted to get on, because you did show, and I'm sure at the end I will direct people to your diamond work anyway. Yeah.
I will have to put it on the internet because it's not yet, but I will put it on so you
when it is. Because again, that points to discipline and self-discipline as well, because it's not something that you do in 5 or 10 minute bursts, is it?
No, I usually do it for a minimum of an hour.
Yeah.
But also I would love to be an advocate for mental health awareness. I have ADHD.
Yes.
So if anyone has ADHD, or even like parents that might have kids on the spectrum, it's
Yes.
basically a color by number, but with little tiny sparkly gems.
Yes.
And so it's really methodical, and it gives you directions. So even if you lose your place, it doesn't matter. So it's not frustrating.
Right.
So and they're cheap. Most
No,
importantly.
I've seen some of your work, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
It is art. There's no doubt about that. It is artistic. And so that's another side that comes into play when you do that, and it brings out that artistic side of the creative side of this analytical person. And I think that's quite important in the long run, that you do see both sides of left and right brain, as they sometimes say.
Absolutely.
So where do you see the next 5 years, Kassidy?
So hopefully in 4 years, I'm going to go back to school and get my PhD.
Why 4 years?
Because I decided 5 years last year.
Right.
Yeah. But really it's because I think at that point, because I've been building the health insurance business for a year and a half, I'm fine, I've got stuff going. But I really am excited about this new project I'm doing, which is the Legal Shield
Shield, yeah.
Yeah. My official launch party is going to be tomorrow.
Oh,
it's really
wonderful.
Exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific, which I believe is 3 a.m. for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Can you tell us a little more about your league, what you see Legal Shield, or I have not much concept of what that is. What does it do?
Really? Awesome. Legal Shield is basically a lawyer in your pocket for $25 a month.
Right.
You get a free will. They'll do your healthcare power of attorney. You can get identity theft protection.
Right.
You can get you can literally call a lawyer. You can literally have an app on your phone to call a lawyer, and it's not expensive.
No.
And it's wonderful. And I personally went through a lawsuit last year.
Right.
So I wish I would have had it then, honestly. And so my focus is going to be helping other women, helping single women, ladies helping ladies.
Yes.
Helping single moms get legal representation. If you need a custody dispute, if you need a will in case someone gets COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you see yourself working with younger women, teenagers?
Absolutely. Yeah. So well, with teenagers, I would want to find their parents and then just get the family on a plan, because that's just more cost effective.
Yes.
But yeah, especially like college age, like graduating high school, getting into college, you don't know what your rights are and you get pulled over.
Right.
You don't know what your rights are. And when you have an awful professor who is not like actually helpful, like there are all these things that, maybe a phone call from you isn't going to do anything, but a phone call from a lawyer will.
Yes. Yeah. I do have a friend who was abused by a professor. So, but that was in the 60s. So there was nothing that could be done then. Who were they going to believe?
Right.
Yeah. So I can see that part, and I could see you fitting in well with that because of the story that you've got. Now, one final question, of course, is relationships now. Are you able to get into a relationship? Are you able to trust?
So the trust thing is hard. The getting into relationships, it's trusting people short term is very, very easy. Trusting people long term, like trusting not trusting individual people long term, but trusting that people will stay around for long term is something I definitely have issues with. I totally see love as conditional.
Right.
And I don't believe that it is. But it feels like it.
Okay.
And part of that is because my family practices shunning. So how could I not?
Right.
Right.
And see, this is why I wanted to do this story, Kassidy, because I think you've got a message for younger women, particularly, who may be going through what you've been through, and you can show them the successful side of it. Now, whether or not, I know you've been honest with me, if is there still pain there at times?
Oh, 100%.
Right. So it's not something that can be short-term wiped away. Can it be controlled, that pain?
So my mom and sister stopped talking to me 4.5 years ago.
Yes.
And it's not, it's like they're dead. Because I can't talk to them.
No.
And if I saw them, they wouldn't look at me. Because they're not supposed to.
Right.
They're not supposed to look at me. They're not, and again, I'm not actually kicked out. So technically, according to the rules, they would be allowed to talk to me, but they talked it over for about 8 months together before deciding that they were going to stop talking to me.
And this, I thank you for the tears, because Kassidy, you know that for other teenage girls going through this, those tears will be there. So again, I think you could be a beacon for them.
I mean, God, I hope so. So that's like, that's why I want to get my PhD.
Yes.
That's why I want to go back to school. It's to help people that grew up the way that I did.
I think you're going to be, if not awesome, you're going to be a fierce competitor, a fierce opponent to people who try and take control. Do you think?
I mean, I hope so. Yeah, I would like I'd like to write a book. I mean, I know it sounds silly, like, oh, I'm 26, so I'm gonna write a memoir.
Why not? Well, to be honest, Kassidy, I often say, and I think even more so with your story, all we've got to do at the moment, what you've told me, is the basis for that book.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's one, often people say to me at the end of the interview that they didn't realize how many of the good memories they'd forgotten. You know, they told me all about the bad memories, and then all of a sudden they remembered good memories. And both of those, they said, could be put into a book, the stories and the lessons. So where would people contact you, Kassidy? How would they get in touch?
Ooh, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my Instagram. Facebook is by far the best way, though.
Right.
My name is Kassidy Beckstein.
I will put your Facebook, I will put all the details into the copy.
Yeah, and my email and phone numbers all over my Facebook.
Yes. So. What we're going to do then, Kassidy, I want to thank you really for being so open, so honest, and it's a start of a great story, I think. Thank you for the interview, and let's see where it takes you, okay?
Thank you.